expansive Dune Universe, or the Duneverse, written by Frank Herbert, is filled with mighty and influential people who transcend the current stages of humanity with their powers and abilities. From the great houses of the Landsraad to the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood and the Spacing Guild, these powerful factions all wield significant influence and are integral to the political, economic, and cultural landscape of the Imperium. For the empires to circumvent this huge power gap, they would need their armies to be as capable, or even more so. This is where the Sardaukars come in. The Sardaukars are a highly trained and formidable military force in the world of Dune. They are the elite troops of House Corino, the ruling family of the Imperium, and are known for their loyalty, discipline, and ruthlessness. Due to their exceptional training, the Sardaukars are feared throughout the galaxy and are often employed as shock troops or assassins. They are the personal army of the Emperor, and are only deployed when the situation requires the utmost force and precision. The Sardaukars are also renowned for their distinctive black and gold uniforms, which serve as a symbol of their status as the Emperor's personal troops. Throughout the Dune series, the Sardaukars play a significant role as a powerful and imposing military force. Their abilities and loyalty make them formidable enemies, and their presence often instills fear and trepidation in those who oppose them. In this video, we will explore everything there is to know about the Sardaukars, what their origins are, how they became so fierce, and much more. So, let's dive right into their history. Before we do though, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Origins, backstory, and the training regimen of this supreme military force. Contrary to what most people believe, the original Sardaukars were not born from or native to the planet Seleucia Secundus. Technically, the Sardaukar ancestors were human colonists that were exploring the vast expanses of the universe. This large group of people were stranded on an uninhabitable planet with extreme weather conditions that were too harsh for regular settlement. This planet came to be known as Seleucia Secundus. This harrowing planet's climate was brutal, as the weather would change frequently between various extremes. With frequent sandstorms, high winds, and intense heat during the day, and freezing temperatures at night, the desert planet was not made for humans. The planet's two suns make the daytime temperatures extremely high, often exceeding 60 degrees Celsius. The harsh weather conditions and lack of resources on the planet make survival a constant struggle for its inhabitants. The atmosphere of Seleucia Secundus is also thin and dry, with a high concentration of carbon dioxide, making it difficult for humans to breathe without assistance. To top it all off, the vast deserts, rocky canyons, and jagged mountains are filled with ferocious beasts that have all hardened through evolution to survive in such harsh environments. These creatures are both physically dangerous individually and present in great numbers. Such inhabitable conditions forced the stranded colonists to breed rapidly as a way of circumventing the death toll that would have resulted in their extinction. Over time, as the population troubles were minimized due to adaptation, the populace started focusing on other major obstacles in their race to survival. The generations started finding and creating their own clans, and the pedestal was occupied by the people who possessed warrior-like mentality. Due to the harsh conditions, the people started becoming rugged and mentally strong as well. As a form of evolution for these denizens, they became fearless and adapted themselves to survive even in the worst conditions possible. Eventually, this populace accumulated together to form a powerful army. The army's ranks were filled by powerful individual warriors that were the result of their exposure to hazardous environments where their perseverance made them thrive. With this, the population started blossoming into much more than it was earlier. The people selected certain leaders that were the most capable out of the bunch and possessed buttloads of experience. This formation of a government-like hierarchy made the general population respect and follow the ideals of the leaders. These ideals were often related to the life of a warrior, where strength and power were rewarded. All the different clans were eventually united under one particular leader that was well respected by every individual present in the community. They all worked to ensure the supremacy of their leader and their coalition. They started gathering their forces to assimilate the resources, both human and materialistic, present in inhabited planets around theirs. The Sardaukars also partook in the Battle of Corin that occurred in 88 BG. After the battle, the Sardaukars' leader founded House Corino in honor of the battle, and they were settled to be the ruling house after their transcendence. Due to the conditions of Solusa Secundus, it was deemed inappropriate for the survival and settlement of the governance. Hence, the imperial court decided to move to the planet Kaitane. Following this move to a more habitable planet, Secundus was transformed into the prison planet for Imperium. Convicts and political enemies were sent to suffer for their lives on this prison planet, and the whole ordeal surrounding this planet became shrouded in mystery. The kinds of oppression that carried on were not revealed, and the discussions for the same were greatly discouraged. The Sardaukars proved their supremacy as fighters, and their dominion soon followed. They became the enforcers of the Padishah Emperor, and were renowned for being ruthless and an army that always succeeded in their mission. As the enforcers of the Emperor, the Sardaukars molded the populace across the universe by literally disciplining other unruly leaders into line through force. It soon became apparent that House Corino needed the Sardaukars' powers to be in numbers to maintain their leadership hold over others. So, the Imperium legions grew further, with Corinos recruiting hardened criminals from Solusa Secundus apart from their general recruitments. What was extra cruel in this machination of the Emperor was the fact that not only the criminal who was guilty was punished to be on the planet, the convicts' kids and all further generations were punished too. They were to be brainwashed with the warrior mindset of the Sardaukars. The practices of the Sardaukars were reminiscent of the Spartans of Greek mythos. They used to flesh out the weaklings and kill them while exposing the ones they deemed fit to harsh training and extreme conditions. This method of filtering out the ones who were healthy was followed by their indoctrination into the army and the commencement of their training. Their training was so vigorous and vicious that it led to the death of nearly 50% of the recruits by the age of 11. The ones that survived were deemed worthy and were trained in hand-to-hand combat and swordsmanship. They were trained to be lethal warriors, adept in dealing with killing blows. Apart from that, they had extraordinary espionage abilities and were brainwashed into being vehemently loyal to the Imperial House. Exploring the religion and complex belief system of the Sardaukar. As we said, the Sardaukars were brainwashed into being fervently loyal to the Imperial House. Their fanatic zeal was a result of continuous conditioning and individual mental gymnastics in an environment that would mold the person as they wanted. The Padishah Emperor was able to win the loyalty of the Sardaukar by preying on their need to serve something greater than themselves. He instilled in them a form of knowledge of superiority and solidarity in serving and suffering. Combined with their training and religious beliefs, the Sardaukars were driven to thrive for greatness in the name of House Corino. In Frank Herbert's Dune Universe, we see plenty of instances of groups being religiously motivated, and it showcases some inspiration that Frank took from the real world. In the instance of the Sardaukars, their religious foundations can be traced back to humanity's existence on Earth, with their roots lying in Judaism and Islamic culture. It is definite that the Sardaukars followed a warrior mindset, and their beliefs were shrouded in mystery, and so very little is known about their religious faiths and what motivated them to be what they were. As discussed, the Sardaukars were not treated like normal humans since birth. They were treated like warriors, and the weak were singled out. This type of practice and mentality hailed from ancient Rome and certain practices of Judaism. Such harsh conditions and brutal practices ensured that any Sardaukar child that was growing up was a potent warrior and powerful as an individual. It is also assumed that the Sardaukars were partially influenced by Zen Sunni wanderers. Zen Sunni is a denomination of Buddha Islam in the Dune Universe, and they were said to pilgrimage to Solusa Secundus. Due to this, the Sardaukars have a shared sense of religion with the Fremens, as the wandering Zen Sunni finally settled on Arrakis after Secundus. Due to their religious teachings and their faithful motivations, both the Fremen and the Sardaukars believed that they were pawns, serving something divine. They believed that they were the people chosen by God in their ways of warrior mysticism, and maintained a strong sense of service for everything that was holy. They also had faith in their gods providing them with greater strength to carry out their will. Hence, knowing that they only act as servants for something greater than themselves, their fighting styles reflected how self-sacrificial they can be, and they found honor in sacrificing themselves for the greater good. Considering they think of themselves as God's chosen, they believe they're superior to others and land higher on the hierarchy of evolution. The warriors were exposed to the greatness of their emperor from an early age. Once they are able to survive survive the onslaught of bad omen on Seleucia Secundus, they are served with an opulent lifestyle provided to them by the emperor while they continue with their brutal training. This instills a form of devotion in their minds for the Padishah emperor, allowing them to serve with their lives when called for. A breakdown of the blood rituals performed by the Sardaukar warriors. The scene where we witness the Sardaukar army kneeling while hooded priest-like figures walk through them and practice to fruition the blood ritual is one of the most chilling scenes in the movie, and it is extremely well directed. This short sequence allows us to analyze the Sardaukars in depth and interpret many different things. The first thing to note is that this blood ritual was not mentioned in the books, and it was a creation of Denis Villeneuve attempting to expand on the different players of the Duniverse. Faithful to the books, the adaptation of their homeworld is perfect, as they are facing windy rain accompanied by fog, while the soldiers do not seem to be bothered one bit while the blood ritual ceremony takes place. It shows how incredibly well disciplined each and every soldier of the Sardaukars is, and how they work as a unit. The scene establishes that even though the Sardaukars are still human, they are to be feared by the unimaginably brutal practices of their warrior race. We see a soldier that can be presumed to be in his 40s, and one does not get to be of that age in the Sardaukars without being a vicious and fierce warrior, surviving countless battles, trials, and tribulations. Meanwhile, the conversation between the Harkonnen and the Sardaukar commander is a masterful display of power dynamics. The Harkonnen requires the Sardaukar's assistance, but is not ready to bow down for it, while the commander establishes that they are doing this for the Emperor and not because the Harkonnens asked them to. The power dynamics on display show us that the Sardaukars believe themselves to be the highest in the hierarchy, and they do not want their supremacy to be questioned. The whole scene is based on the ceremonious battle preparations of the Sardaukar. They are donned in sacrificial blood as a way to show their brutality. The bodies that are supplying the blood are upside-down crucified bodies, and we can see the continuous chanting of the Sardaukars, which is an extremely eerie visual. It is speculated that the crucified bodies could be prisoners of war on this prison planet, or it could be the fallen Sardaukars, be it in battle or through the harsh environments of Seleucia Secundus. This ceremony serves to anoint the strong who have persevered through hardships and have been molded into strong individuals chosen by God themselves. The scene displays the cult-like devotion of the Sardaukars and their disciplined conditioning. These terror troops of the Padishah Emperor are relentless in their pursuit of service and can be as brutal as they come. What makes these forces one of the most dangerous in the Dune Universe? As you might know, it's established in the Duniverse that the Sardaukars are as skilled and as fierce as they come. Even the Fremen respect the Sardaukars and consider them rivals in powers and strength. As the enforcers of the Padishah Emperor, these terror troops are nothing less than behemoths on the battlefields. They are hardened by their tough lives and trained to be ruthless warriors. Their religious beliefs also play a role in their devotion to fight for their cause, and they believe they are chosen by the gods. With their fanatic zeal, their endless training regimen, their extreme conditioning, and their lethal but sacrificial ways of fighting for something greater than themselves, the Sardaukars are exceptional fighters with unwavering loyalty to their emperor. There is a multitude of factors chiming in that make the Sardaukars as strong as they are. Each Sardaukar was comparable to 10 military units of the standard Landsraad army. They were even comparable with the cult-like warriors from the Bene Gesserit, who went through rituals consisting of spice melange to gain their powers apart from their years of training. The arsenal that the Sardaukars use consists of various melee weapons, ranged weapons, and a strong fighting style to accompany these weapons. For melee weapons, they serve to fulfill the requirements of close quarters combat. The Sardaukars famously use a flip dart, which is a small barb-like needle used to inflict poison damage or penetrate the skin. It's easily concealable and essentially weighs nothing. They also have their signature swords and knives, and they are trained to be master swordsmen capable of bypassing the impact shields that are frequently used in the Duniverse. For ranged weapons, the Sardaukars famously use a needle gun that can fire small projectiles towards their targets. The darts used are usually venomous and can pierce the skin. They are also easily concealable and can be carried in multiples. They also use a hunter-seeker, the laser gun, a mala pistol, and a throwing knife. This goes to show that the Sardaukars are prepared for various different scenarios, and their weapons weapons are made to accentuate their fighting styles, while allowing them to inflict damage as quickly as possible. They are tough warriors to begin with, but their durability is enhanced by personal force fields that protect them from projectiles and rapid oncoming strikes. The Sardaukars are known for their intelligence-gathering abilities and use of espionage. They are skilled at infiltrating enemy organizations and gathering information, which gives them a strategic advantage in battle. The Sardaukars are indoctrinated with the belief that their duty to the Padishah Emperor is paramount, and that they do whatever is necessary to fulfill it. This belief system creates fanatical loyalty and dedication to their cause, making them willing to do anything to achieve their objectives. All of these factors combined make the Sardaukars a formidable force, capable of overpowering even the most skilled and well-equipped opponents. The Sardaukars are known for their unwavering courage and fearlessness in battle. They are willing to sacrifice themselves for their cause, and this makes them a fearsome opponent. Why do they prefer swords over projectile weapons? We frequently see the use of swords by both the Sardaukars and their enemies during battles, rather than high-tech, long-range weaponry. One might question why that is the case, since the Dune Universe is taking place in the future of humanity, and in the span of thousands of decades, the technological warfare should have evolved further rather than going back to historical weaponry. Well, the answer to that is the fact that combat mechanics changed ever since the invention of the defensive Holtzman shield. This shield is seen in use by a lot of soldiers, be it the Sardaukars or otherwise. This protective force field provides a great defense against any weaponry that uses projectiles to deal damage. This nullifies the effects of bullets, arrows, or shells. The discovery of such a shield instilled the need to downgrade current weaponry in the Dune Universe and allowed the adoption of weapons from historical warfare. This also served as a reason for the Sardaukars to create and adapt a new fighting style that mechanizes the old ways of the swordsman and modernizes it in a way that the individual could move the sword slow enough to bypass the protective shield, but still deal deadly damage to their target. In the movie, we see the shield glow in a blue aura whenever it is able to block oncoming damage, and glow red whenever it is pierced. The Sardaukars are renowned as the finest enemies of the Holtzman shield, since they are the best at nullifying its effects and still deal lethal damage to their opponents. What finally happened to the Sardaukar forces? The strength of the Sardaukars proved to be a double-edged sword for House Carino. During the reign of the last emperor of the house, Shaddam IV, the power and influence of the Sardaukars was greatly diminished. This was due to multiple reasons, and most of them were the fault of Shaddam IV, as he was, to put it lightly, not the best emperor that could have been. Under his reign, the Sardaukars' strong religious beliefs and fanatic zeal slowly transformed into skepticism and cynicism. This was manifested by various factors due to the impish and cowardly ruler. Firstly, we would like to note that even though this fall from grace from the Sardaukars was of massive proportions, they were still not useless and were actually quite formidable. They simply weren't on the same pedestal they were on before the rule of Shaddam Carino IV. They had succumbed to conceit and egotism, and cynicism had severely damaged the mythic foundation of their warrior-like mindset while their religious beliefs crumbled. The Sardaukars' downfall was finally sealed when Paul Atreides and the Fremen defeated them devastatingly on the plains of Arrakis after a one-sided battle. It is argued within the Dune fandom that if the Sardaukars were at their peak, the Fremen would have also faced more difficulty in defeating them, and their triumph wouldn't have been as sure-sighted as it was. Upon the dawn of the reign of Shaddam IV, the ruler nearly doubled the number of Imperial Sardaukar commanders with the rank of Bursag. This incited more of a focus on the power structure of the military, and an unhealthy hierarchy was formed. This was a major cause for resentment, and to top it all off, Shaddam IV was a very cowardly ruler who was insecure about his power and relied on proven tactics of scaring the opposition rather than actually harboring power. He consistently proved himself to be useless by meddling in affairs that did not require his intervention and were outside of his authority. This display of weakness from the ruler created ripple effects in his empire, and his empire's forces were weakened as their devotion took a major dip. They started questioning questioning whether it was worth it to sacrifice their lives for a low-life coward such as their emperor. Another reason for their downfall was the appropriation of the Sardaukar training regimen. This resulted in softening the Sardaukars and proved fatal as they failed to be as battle-hardened as a Sardaukar should have been. This decline in training also resulted in a negative effect on their discipline, devotion, and willingness, ending with the loss of power. The worst thing about this era was that the Sardaukars were oblivious to such shortcomings as they basked in their glory days rather than focusing on the current events. The warriors had grown overconfident and thought of themselves to be untouchable. Confidence is always the key to victory, but overconfidence is the fool's way to humiliation. This arrogance, among a plethora of other factors, was the reason for their downfall. After House Carino lost the war with House Atreides, they fell as the ruling power of the Imperium. They were allowed to maintain one Imperial Standard Legion of around 30,000 men on Seleucia Secundus. This was the end of Sardaukars as a fierce army of insane warriors, and what remained were only remnants of what they used to be as individual warriors that were scattered and visionless. Discussing the pros and cons of the Sardaukar warriors. Now that we've explored everything there is to know about the Sardaukars, we should discuss the pros and cons of these ruthless warriors. Note that such a regimen should never ever exist in a real-world scenario, as the Duniverse is not the best role model for setting the foundation of where humanity should move further in its evolution. Let us first talk about the pros. The Sardaukars take great pride in their work, and it is in line with their religious beliefs, giving them a greater meaning in life. They serve to fulfill their lifelong goals to work as the chosen ones of their god and see nothing more than serving for the greater good. They are seen as the most fearsome military force in the Duniverse, and they enjoy that position as their reputation precedes them. They serve to protect the Padishah Emperor, and for military personnel, there is no higher call of duty than that. They are also guided by the best of the best, battle-hardened commanders who lead by example and fight alongside their soldiers. The Sardaukars know that with every command they receive, their commander is ensuring that they will make the best tactical move possible. With cunning strategies and great use of powers, the Sardaukars are sure to follow their commanders till their last breaths. Before every battle, they also perform blood rituals as a form of preparation and service to their gods, which instills a sense of confidence and solidarity among the soldiers. As we discussed earlier, the Sardaukars use a great weapons arsenal to ensure their victory. They are masters of using these weapons, and it is ensured that they receive the highest grade weaponry that they require. This not only allows them to be great at the warfare of massive proportions, but also stealth missions that require covert movements and weaponry. With such great qualities backing the Sardaukars, there are bound to be a bunch of negatives as well. In terms of cons, for starters, the Sardaukars have no other choices in life. Despite all the perks we have just mentioned, having the path of a ruthless warrior as the only option to serve your emperor seems like it would be the worst kind of life one could have. Even if you are strong enough to survive the early stages of becoming a warrior as a child, you're exposed to such an environment where you are conditioned to become a fighting machine rather than a human. The Sardaukars also have an extremely high mortality rate, as many of the children that are exposed to such conditions succumb to their injuries and die before the age of 11. The ones who survive are deemed fit to become a Sardaukar warrior, but otherwise, they simply perish. Not everyone is created the same. Some might have lesser physical genetics, but have more of a strong mental presence. But none of that matters to the Sardaukars, who simply aim to build strength, skill, and will. These failed trainees who die before ripping into better warriors are then used in the blood rituals, where their bodies are crucified upside down. This serves as a harsh reality for the warriors who reminisce about the fallen and bask in their success of becoming strong and powerful. Following the defeat of the Sardaukars at the hands of the Fremen, their overconfidence turned into utter disbelief, and their reputation was shattered. Suffering this humiliating defeat resulted in the marginalization of the Sardaukar warriors and the downfall of House Carino. Only a few individual soldiers remained who were still as strong as they were renowned to be, but the rest either perished or had become soft. House Carino was only allowed a handful of soldiers post their defeat, and this resulted in the major downfall of the Sardaukars. Conclusion. In conclusion, the Sardaukars are known for their fierce loyalty and unmatched combat skills, making them one of the most feared military forces in the galaxy. Trained on the harsh planet of Seleucus Secundus, the Sardaukars are renowned for their discipline, stealth, and ruthlessness. Their reputation is so formidable that they have become a symbol of power and fear in the Imperium. The Sardaukars represent a complex and compelling element of the Dune Universe. Their elite status and reputation for formidable combat skills make them a critical force in the power struggles within the Imperium. However, their methods and loyalty to their leaders are often seen as ruthless and cruel by outsiders. Ultimately, the Sardaukars serve as a reminder of the difficult choices and sacrifices that come with maintaining power and control in a vast and dangerous universe. Whether feared or respected, their impact on the Dune universe cannot be ignored. That's all for now, but if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.